Why don't you take a picture? It'll last longer. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Welcome back to the Peach State Prime Transformers channel. My name's Warren. Today we're reflecting back on one of the most iconic trio of characters in the Transformers universe. I am talking about Reflector, excuse me. Not Refractor, Reflector. Anyways, so we're going to take a look specifically at the Siege, Reflector molds. But before we get there, we are going to take a look back at some of the previous attempts and kind of tangential attempts at making a good Reflector toy. And we're going to try to determine which one's the best that's come out so far. So hope you'll join me on this reflection of Reflector as we dive into these toys. Alright, so we are going to start today's video by taking a look at the original Reflector. Now, first thing you'll notice right off the bat, my Reflector is not complete. It doesn't have the flash cube or the lens or any guns or weapons. Very bare bones. Of course, no front sticker here either. But, it's still the classic G1 mold. As you can see, the legs here on the two side bots do not want to stay up very well. But it is the original nonetheless. So we're looking at it in camera mode first. You can see it's a little dirty in the middle there. I believe that's on the inside, so that's going to be a little tough to clean, but I'm going to have to look at that. You can look through the viewfinder and actually see out through the main lens, which is cool. One of the other features this thing has is on the top of Spectro's head here, it is the shutter button, and that does click. Which is always one of the cool gimmicks of this toy. Like I said, I mentioned, Spectro's name. So, unlike the cartoon where, everybody kind of, all three robots look the same, the toy was actually given individual names, or the bots were. The red one here being known as Spectro, and please don't fall. And then we have the blue bot, Spyglass. Oh, he's bowing for us. Okay. Okay, you can have a seat down there. And then in the middle, we have Viewfinder. And you'll see I am missing one of the stoppers here. So his arm does just come all the way off here. Now, of course, Viewfinder is kind of the model they went off of for the individual bots on the TV show in the 80s, albeit with a different head and a little bit more purple in color. And, they were just collectively known as Reflector. This kind of gave a little bit more individualness to the three individual bots. That being said, as far as show accuracy, no, it's not super show accurate. Not a lot of the early G1 stuff was, as we all know. But, this was a good toy, and it made a convincing, little camera on its own, especially when you have, all the accessories, the flash cube, the zoom lens. And it was a nice, simple transformation. It's a combiner of sorts, not what we traditionally think of combiners, like Devastator, Superion, etc., etc. But, for having three bots that come together, to form one thing, it was kind of nice for its time. For those not aware, Reflector in G1 was one of the mail-away exclusives. So in the United States, Reflector originally was not available in stores. You had to save up those robot points that would appear on packaging, along with some money, and send it into Hasbro, and they would send you Reflector. Kind of like if you're familiar with the Omnibots for the Autobots. So again, you know, not bad for its time, but that's our first entry for Reflector. And we'll take a look at the next one here. So you all want to see something funny? So I just lifted G1 Reflector away to get the next bot to show off here. And I look up, and apparently Spectro's leg remained behind without me even noticing. You know, it's one of those things when you have aging Transformers. You know, we could just kind of wedge it in there for now. But, I mean, you guys saw how loose these joints were, so it's no surprise, but, you know, and it broke on that shiny plastic there, which isn't always the greatest for longevity. So, if you have this guy, beware of that. Okay, and Spyglass is trying to lose his. Okay, so moving from 1984 to 2007, I know what everybody's thinking. This is not Reflector. No, it is not. This is Spy Shot 6 from the Real Gear movie line. Again, for the first live-action film, he was a non-movie character based on the scene where, you know, the Allspark power, you know, goes nuts and starts activating all sorts, or creating all sorts of random Transformers. However, as you probably guessed it just by looking at this guy, he does turn into a camera, and frankly, it's kind of a spiritual successor to Reflector, albeit a single bot this time instead of 3, which, you know, I understand a lot of people probably used him as a stand-in for a Reflector if they didn't have one. Let's see if we can straighten him up here. You know, and why not? I mean, he does have kind of a G1-ish, you know, the square type head, a block head, if you will. You know, has some claw hands. You know, not a bad, you know, single, you know, bot camera that would actually make for a, again, an updated version of Reflector, you know, with only going a one bot route. But let's take a look at his camera mode. Alright, here we have Spy Shot 6 in camera mode, and to be precise, in digital camera mode. Of course, this came out in 2007, so, you know, film was kind of on the way out. To keep with that theme, on the back here, you do have some buttons and a screen. Not quite sure who that is. If you know who that is, leave a comment in the comment section. Then you have some you know, ways to navigate through the screen, through your pictures. You know, your zoom, optical zoom up here, or your digital zoom, I should say. It does retain the ability to look through the viewfinder. Just like the original Reflector toy did in G1. And it also still has that feature where you have the clicking sound when you take a picture or pretend to take a picture. There's no extra zoom lens to lose with this one. Again, digital camera, and not one that feature, just a small, normal, you know, everyday use one. Then you have your built-in flash, so no flash cube. On the bottom, you have some nice details. You know, you have some additional, you know, faux buttons on there. Transforming this guy is not my favorite. You'd think something this small would be a little bit easier. It's not the worst thing in the world, and you don't need directions or instructions, that is. But you basically have to twist his body and then, you know, finagle the legs until they decide to go into the right place. It's just not how you would truly expect it to transform. You know, again, if it was a little simpler, I would have showed it on camera, like G1 Reflector, but, you know, regardless, it is a very good camera mode, and the bot mode's not bad either. So I go back to what I was saying before. I believe this to be an actual spiritual successor to the original Reflector toy, given some of the features on here. And again, it would make for a good single bot stand-in for a Reflector in your collection. So, not bad. I mean, even though he doesn't really look like Reflector as we know him in bot mode or camera mode, again, the concept is there and the intent is there. Alright, so this next one's kind of cheating, but I'm going to show you guys it anyways. This is more of an accessory for the, I believe it was Generations around 2014. Here is Reflector. So what this is, this actually came with Shrapnel, the Generations, the Legends class. He was a Targetmaster, and this little Targetmaster bot has 3 modes, and it is 100% meant to be the Reflector we all know and love. So of course you have his camera mode, which, you know, you can wedge into a bot's hands, or it does have a, you know, a little peg here. You can peg it into a bot's hands. Transform him into bot mode. There you go. I don't even want to focus on him. And you can see the details there. You have the lens in the middle. The head looks like viewfinders. So this is definitely intended to be an homage to G1 Reflector. His third mode is, of course, a Targetmaster blaster, which you can see the back of Viewfinder's head is supposed to look a little bit like that cannon. Of course, you flip the peg down for the handle, and that's it. You know, it does kind of look like Shrapnel's G1 gun, but for our purposes, we're looking at it from the Reflector point of view. Alright, there were a few other Reflectors between now and then. You know, Combiner Wars Shockwave was retooled into a set of 3 BotCon exclusives into their flying gun, not gun, spaceship modes, things like that. But we're going to go ahead and fast forward now to War for Cybertron Siege. And there's a lot to unpack here. So, you start with your core figure. This was released as Reflector. Then you can combine 3 of them. If you bought 3 of the same figure, you get the accessories, enough accessories and enough bots to make a camera mode. And then on top of that, you have special edition re-releases or releases of this mold. And we're going to start with the basics here and try to unpack this to see if one of these might be the best Reflector. Now, I do want to call out, I made a joke at the beginning of the video. They do, in fact, refer to the character and collectively on the purple one as Refractor. It's a rights issue. We're going with calling him his original name for the rest of this video, Reflector. So, Reflector here does look like he did on the G1 television series. And again, you buy all 3 of them. You have 3 of the same, just like you did on the show. What I don't have plugged in right now, and actually I'm going to fix that because I have them on the combined version, is so you get this gun, and then you also get this, which you could tell is a piece of the lens. you know, you can plug it in up here as an extra shield, what have you. The viewfinder piece does in fact come off, and that helps with some of the transformations, and I'll show you that here in just a minute. Reflector is marketed as, again, having kind of a spaceship mode. Going to transform him, show that off. And then, but again, the real star of the show here is, in fact, the combined camera mode, like I've already shown. And we'll talk a little bit more in that detail here in just a minute. All right, there we have the quote-unquote spaceship mode for Siege Reflector. I'd like to formally apologize to everyone for even featuring this in a video. It is just, you know, I don't think I've said this on a video yet. This is just a bad alt mode. Clearly an afterthought. Hasbro knew what they were doing. They wanted him to be a camera. They released him individually because at a deluxe price point, even back then, yeah, 3-pack probably wasn't going to sell the same figure. So they had to find a happy medium to release them. So they came up with this mode. So they did what they could. But this does not stand on its own. So let's jump back into the camera mode. All right. So here's the full-on camera mode. So this is, again, 3, 1, 2, 3 of the Reflector molds, figures put together. And it's really kind of nifty how they did this. So first off, the shield that was on Reflector's shoulder, 3 of those combine and plug into the front here, or snap onto the front, give you the lens, not only the lens, but the zoom lens, and then 3 of the guns form the stand. And then the individual lens pieces are used, so one of them forms the shutter button, and then the other one is what the stand actually plugs into. So that was a neat bit of engineering on Hasbro's part, you know, so we have to forgive them for that abomination of an individual vehicle mode, if you could even call it that. You know, missing here, there is no flash cube for this particular release, and you can't click the shutter button. But besides that, this is very close to what we had in the G1 cartoon. But is this the perfect Reflector, the perfect toy representation? Well, things get a little complicated from there. So, let's pull up our next Reflector after I get the sand plugged back in. All right. Now we move into the what was referred to as the Refractor Reconnaissance Team 3-pack. Again, Reflector. But anyways, this was basically a selects release, a special release, pretty much online, of the same molds of Reflector. However, they took it a step further, and they made it more like the original G1 toy, rather than animation accurate. So, right off the bat, you could tell he does have the flash cube, or they have the flash cube accessory. I have stuff falling falling on me from the sides here. I do apologize. And then you do have this piece in the front here that's more like the side of a camera to add a little bit more detail. And then, of course, you do have the black zoom, black stand. And if we turn it around, and we're going to dive more into this, the bots are all different colors, just like that original G1 release. So, of course, this does look more robust. It did come with a very special box, which I always thought was really cool. It has this cool, clear kind of, you know, lens or viewfinder on the front. You know, you got all sorts of shiny artwork. from the Siege era. And then you have a nice group shot of the 3 bots there. Viewfinder, Spyglass, and Spectro, who all retain their original names. Of course, you know, they're all part of a reconnaissance team or spy team. So again, then you have, you know, Siege on the top here. So again, a very, very cool release. But let's take a look at the individual bots and see how they differ from the mainstream release. All right, so here's the Reflector reconnaissance team. They look great, you know, again, really based on that original G1 toy, more so than what we got in the cartoon series. You can see Spectro here. You know, that extra camera accessory where the shutter button was can become a shield that you put on them in robot mode. Going over to Spyglass, the flash cube can also attach. There's just like an extra blaster, maybe a strobing effect to confuse Autobots. And then the front of the camera becomes shoulder pads for Viewfinder here. So, again, they look great. They really do. You know, as far as the faces, Spectro and Spyglass, you know, have their regular faces, just like every other figure did on this Reflector mold, but it works within the sense of the G1 toy. And I'm not pulling that toy back up here right now. I'm sorry. But I already lost one leg. I'm not going to mess with it anymore. It's going back in my Detolf glass case here from IKEA. But in the middle there, Viewfinder, he did not get his faceplate like the G1 toy did. And you know what? I'm fine with that. He looks good with just a standard face there. But between the colors and those extra accessories, Hasbro knocked it out of the park. With this figure, or with this figure set, excuse me, and really is kind of that ultimate step up from what we got in G1, despite it not really being show accurate. Now, does that mean this is in fact the best Reflector toy ever? Well, yes and no, and we're going to dive into that here just a minute. Now, one other extra accessory that I almost forgot to mention that came with this Reflector set, and that is everybody's little troublemaker, Crimzeek. So we got an official Crimzeek with this release, and you see there's this little peg up here. He has little holes in his feet. So when I display him, I like just popping him on right there. So, you know, not really sure. I think it was just to fill out the set that they added Crimzeek. Whoops. But I do think, you know, it adds a little something there. You know, fun little pack-in, if you will. You know, other Reflectors that are not pictured here, or were not included. Like I said, there was the BotCon exclusive set. Based on that Combiner Wars Shockwave mold. There's also the label, the Takara Transformers label Canon Reflector. But, you know, it's good for what it is. I don't think it's going to be the best Reflector toy. That's because the best Reflector toys are sitting right in front of us. This mold is definitely the best update we've had to Reflector ever. And again, I don't think they're ever going to top it. Now, the question is, which one of the two is better? Honestly, it's up to you. You know, do you prefer cartoon accuracy or do you prefer toy accuracy? I like both, so I got both. The other thing you can do here is if you really want to go for some extra accuracy, and you all know where I'm going with this, we're going to do it anyways. You can snap off those extra accessories that are on the toy accurate Reflector And this stand does not want to stay connected at the bottom here. There we go, that's a bit better. Get the flash cube. All right. And, you know, if you were picky before and if you have both sets, this is probably the most accurate to the show we've had. You have everything on here now with the lens, the zoom lens on it, the flash cube, and again, those extra camera pieces, you know, despite it saying refractor. So, you know, that's fun to do if you have both. There is also the dramatic capture series that Takara put out that contains all three figures, you know, painted slightly more like they appeared in the show, similar to this Siege release here, but, you know, maybe you know, some different shades, some different details here and there, and that includes these other pack-in accessories. I'm not sure if Crimsleek comes with that set or not, but it does come with all the other camera pieces. So, not bad. Walmart also did get an exclusive Netflix release of this Reflector mold in blue, single-packed, as Scrap Face. You know, it was blue, I guess, supposed to be kind of a zombie bot, and there's, you know, if you ever watch the Netflix War for Cybertron Siege series, or any of the War for Cybertron trilogy, they have a bunch of background characters, so, you know, it was supposed to represent one of those. But I definitely think that these two here are by far the best Reflector releases we've had. Right, and here's your group shot of all the Reflectors that we looked at today. Again, you know, they all have their strong points. They're very much products of their time. However, again, I'm a huge fan of these War for Cybertron Siege incarnations. You know, again, we have the bot mode in the middle, so I technically have 4 of the standard release. Again, no matter what flavor or repaint you have it in, I think that's the way to go. You know, you get both like I have, or, you know, if you really need a different stand-in, you know, we did forget to throw Spy Shot 6 in there, so we have a edited group shot here, because I think he's very much spiritually, you know, a version of Reflector. You know, all the Real Gear toys had weird names and then followed by a number, repainted number of times. I'm sure we had more than one version of Spy Shot 6. I even lost track of all the Real Gear releases because of all the repaints and retools. But, again, you know, no matter which one you have, I think they all fill that void of having, you know, that classic Decepticon spy team, you know, in your collection. All right, so that is going to conclude today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. You know, something, you know, did one of these recently for Cosmos, so thought I'd do it for Reflector, or, you know, his relatives as well. You know, if you like this video, please give it a like and comment. You know, what's your favorite version of Reflector? Do you not have one in your collection? Like the character, hate it, you like it as a single character, a single unit, or single bot, or 3 like it's been traditionally? You know, sound off in the comments. And of course, subscribe to the Peach State Prime Transformers channel for, you know, more videos like this, random thoughts, different Transformers-related topics and content. I also have my original Peach State Prime channel for everything else, whether it's fun travel in and around the Atlanta, Georgia area and the rest of the South, including attractions, fun places to shop and eat, including collectible stores, you know, conventions, other parts of my collections that are off topic from Transformers. Check that out. Anyways, again, thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a great day, and God bless.